Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 29th day of September, 2022. Well, I guess we got our hay in yesterday. We got 60 bales off of about, I don't know if it's 3 acres or 3.5 acres where we have the fence there. I'm not sure. Thereabouts though, which is pretty cool because we don't fertilize, and I mean, and fertilizer was so expensive this year. It was, I don't even know if it doubled or tripled or what it was, but we looked at the price of a bag and we're like, but anyway, we got that, and we get 20 bales out of the deal, and which is fine because we don't have any livestock other than chickens, and that's what we use it for. We use it for bedding, and they like to pick through it and get the seed out of it and whatnot. So it's kind of nice to have that for them. And if we were to get a cow or something, then that would, or some other kind of animal that grazes, we could use it for them too. But I don't think we're going to do that. But anyway, that got done yesterday, so yay, that a second cutting, which we haven't had in years. But it was a beautiful field of clover. The second cutting always would be that after you cut it first, then all the clover just takes over, and this year was all over the whole field, so that was pretty cool. Anyhow, let's see. Jupiter was very cool. I hope you got to get out and see that. It's still up there, so pretty bright. But Monday it was insanely bright, so that was fun to be out there for that. Let's see, where are my esoteric influences? There they are. Well, let's go ahead and go over the esoteric influences for today. It's interesting, anytime we have master numbers. We've had a master number all year long with the year, the 2022. The 22 part is the cosmic builder. So profound soul level change, and I think we can honestly say there's been a lot of profound change this year so far, so, or at least information or whatever that might change people or what have you. But lots of things, Hurricane Ian and what it's doing to Florida, and then I don't know, what's going to happen further up. They say it's not going to be good in the Carolinas, I guess, but anyway. That's a mess, and I don't know. I feel for them. I really do. I mean, we don't. My husband and I were talking about that. We don't really have. I mean, we have weather events here, but nothing like that. Nothing like tornadoes or hurricanes or anything like that where we live. And so we don't. We deal with our own kind of stuff, but it's nothing in comparison to what these folks deal with on a yearly basis, practically. So. So blessings to all of them there, and hope that everybody's safe and got out, and if they didn't, that they can hunker down and be as safe as possible. So anyhow, let's take a look at the esoteric influences. We have an 11 numerology for the day. 29 reduces to 11, and we're not going to reduce it any further than that. And so that's awakening and enlightenment and the spiritual messenger and all of that. So it's a very spiritual number. I'll use another type of, well, it means the elk. It means protection, or the elk sedge. But it's literally, how I interpret it is you've got air, fire, and water up top, and earth at the bottom in terms of the points of the rune itself. And it's almost like you're raising your arms in supplication to spirit. So in that regard, it's sort of a pathway from spirit awareness into your physical awareness, into the egoic side of self. Fortuna Major is greater fortune. That's the Geomancy rune for today. And Jupiter retrograde is still in Aries at this point. So anyway, I believe it transitions into Pisces toward the end of October, but I don't quote me on that. I've been doing some of the stuff ahead, and I do a whole spreadsheet for the month, and I believe there's something about that in there. Anyway, that's what I put stuff there that then I do my different posts. I have like a general information area, and then from that is what I do all my posts, including the esoteric influences. But anyway, it's just easier that way to have it all there instead of having to look it up each time. So, But let's take a look at the influences itself. Today's Master 11, along with the Master 22 found in the year, suggests spiritual influences that, if heeded, are quite profound. And in doing so, you'll be better able to take a more realistic approach so that to anything really, so that your ego doesn't get in the way of achieving your objectives. In addition, any decisions you need to make can benefit from the spiritual inspiration and higher perspective expressed by Alyes. Taking time to meditate on these influences may prove beneficial to you today. Going forward, you may need a complete reestablishment of a new foundation, and that's where the 22 master influence of the year comes in, I think. That relies on self-discipline instead of impulsiveness or a fixation on a narrow perspective. And if you support others when encountering challenges, you could experience some reciprocity from them as well. It's that interchange, that we have when we kind of see things in a collaborative way, a unified way. I think it's much more beneficial than constantly seeing everything from your own, as they call, service to self type of perspective. So, in any event, let's go ahead and where's my bag? There it is. Let me get this out of the way here. I'll keep it up though. I've been doing that. If you've been here for a while, you know that I've been sort of trying to, if it looks like the reading is going to be reinforced by the esoteric influences for the day, then I kind of like to incorporate that in there as well. Reference it at least. Especially if I draw one of the runes or both runes are the same. That's what I have. Well, no, Sawillo. But another higher, another as above, so below rune here. You're looking at Kenaz forward and reverse, basically, kind of skewed, but it's still Kenaz. Kenaz is the torch or the light of spirit, provides clarity. Well, so does Sawillo. Sawillo, as the rune of the sun, is really about how you manifest the will, and doing so in higher awareness, higher clarity. But again, mostly with Sawillo, it's where are you deriving your clarity? Are you deriving it from spirit, or again, are you deriving it from ego? And ideally, things are dropping. That's okay though. Ideally, you don't want to have ego governing anything. Ego needs to be told what to do, not the other way around. And so often we live our lives that way, where ego is defining everything we do, and it's hard to see anything else other than that. So the Geomancy rune is going to be Laetitia. Let me find it here in the bowl. There's Tristitia. Tristitia is sorrow and grief and all of that. Laetitia, on the other hand, which seems to not be in my bowl, and I don't, that's Tristitia. Well, if I can't find it, which I don't know why I can't find it, there it is, then I'll just turn the other one upside down. The interesting thing about Geomancy, and I've told people this if you've been here before, you know this, there's 16 runes, but in truth there's only 8, because each one has its complement, so you just turn it over, or in the case of Vaya, you just add another line of dots, basically. But here we have Laetitia. Laetitia is a very positive rune. It's joyful. It portends good fortune. It's a little more, but you basically have an active principle for fire. So you see the single dot there, and the rest you see dual dots, right? So anytime you see dual dots, that's a passive influence. And so air, water, and earth are all passive influences. So this is a very motivating, happiness-oriented type of a rune. And when you express yourself in full clarity of the higher awareness coming in and providing that clarity, then you have a different level of happiness and peace and feeling of joy and fellowship and all of that with other people. Very similar to the rune Vunyo in the Elder Futhark, where that's also about Well, it involves, let's see, Kenaz turned inward, so the light of spirit turned inward. It also involves Laguz, which is flowing in higher awareness, and then Isa, which is alignment in higher awareness. So I mean, it's really, they're all higher awareness based experiences, if you allow that to resonate for you. If otherwise, the other way happens, and that's, again, ego controls things, and oh boy, you just never know where that's going to take you. Now, I've already shoveled quite a bit here. I do that before I get started, so I don't have to risk dropping all my cards on the floor. And then you see me go, go down to the floor and get all of my cards. It's like, no, boy. Sometimes, if too many fall, I just stop the whole thing and start over, because it's almost like I need one of those little things I can put in there where it's like, hold on, she'll be right back. She's klutzy this morning. So let's go ahead and we'll cut the cards, and we'll take the lower part of the deck, rather, not the lower deck. Okay, well, we got the Three of Swords again today, and I don't know how I want to do this. I think that okay, I think I'm just going to do it this way. I have the Chariot. That's what I drew first. And then I had the Three of Swords, and then the Seven of Pentacles. But I think I want the Chariot. I think I want to put that last, because I think that's the solution, or part of the solution anyway, to this. But let's go ahead and start out with the Three of Swords. Here we see a heart with three swords piercing it. Two, though, on each side, one on each side here, appear to be behind the one in the center. You see clouds with rain coming down. But the issue with the Three of Swords, it's about betrayal. It's about some kind of deception that's going on, or betrayal that's going on, where people are maybe talking about you in a way that's unflattering. They're gossiping. That could be another one. Or it could just be outright betrayal, where two people are, and again, it doesn't have to be two, but we're dealing with the three here. So if you look at it, specifically, then it's almost like you have two people that are doing something behind your back, and it's going to be extremely hurtful. You're going to feel betrayed by it. Now, that could apply to any number of things. It could apply to a marriage. It could apply to, or a partnership. It could apply to something business related. It could be friendship that's having some difficulties. So when you see the Three of Swords, it really, it's emotional. You feel like things are happening that are out of your control, and just keep that phrase in mind, out of your control. And when we get to the Chariot, that's why I moved the Chariot to the end. It'll be obvious at that point. So whatever is happening here, betrayal wise, okay, it's causing you to take stock. Of things, stock of what you have. The Seven of Pentacles, I've said this a million times. Every time I draw it, it reminds me of my husband out in the field. He'll sit there and lean on his shovel, because usually he's out irrigating. But he'll lean on his shovel, and he'll sit and he'll look around, he'll think, he'll, whatever goes through his mind. I have no idea. But anyway, he's usually probably planning something, or what am I going to do here, or how am I going to deal with that, or whatever. Or he's just standing there resting, either way. But here you see the harvest has come in, and again, it's material security, because you see the Seven Pentacles there. Pentacles is about the earth element, and so you're talking really, in earth element is about a lot of different things, but mostly it's about your physicality, but that could include material security. And so here you're bringing in the harvest, and you're kind of reflecting on how all that went. And but in a way, you're taking stock, aren't you? You're letting things come to rest with the 7, and you're observing. And so in relationship then to the, we'll do it this way, in relationship to the 3 of Swords here, you know, especially if this is a if this is a betrayal in a relationship, which it is of some kind, you have to sit and take stock of, okay, where am I at now? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my feeling of security, whether it's material security or not? Obviously, when you feel betrayed, things are a little unsettling because you can't believe, number one, that it happened, right? I mean, sometimes you see this stuff coming, but you don't always. And when you don't, it's very disturbing. And so so then you got to sit and reflect and think back, okay, when did this start? And so you try to take stock of what the truth is. You try to take stock of where you are, if it's a marriage or a partnership where you may be considering leaving at that point, or something, right, where it's bad enough, or if it's a job situation where you've got to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to protect myself going forward? When you bring in a harvest, when you spend all that time growing things, and it either is going to be something you're going to sell, or it's something, if it's the garden, you grow enough for the winter maybe, and so you can, or you freeze, or you dry, or whatever you do to process it. You're basically planning for the future. Well, now a betrayal can be so disturbing that all of that just gets discombobulated maybe, and it's very unsettling, and you don't know, well, okay, what's my future going to bring? Do I need to get a new job? Do I need to get a new partner? Do I need to move to a different home? What needs to happen? And I realize there's a lot of different ways this can play out, so I'm not saying that it's necessarily one thing or the other here. But you have to take stock of what has gone on. Maybe you're taking stock of what the relationship was like. If this is with a friend, or a couple of friends, what happened? How did we get here? That they felt like they had to betray me this way. And so you take stock of what the relationship was and what it can be going forward, and how secure you can feel with those people in your life, at this point. Maybe the relationship has just flat out broken down and you didn't know. And if there's no way to mend it, well, now you've got to figure out, well, what else? How many friends do I have left? So it's a taking stock of where you are now after the betrayal happens. And again, that can take various forms. But part of that process, and it's being able to see the bigger picture of it all, okay, is the idea of when to drop resistance and when to take control. And that we see with another 7 card here, letting things come to rest with the Chariot. Now, chariots generally involve momentum or movement. But again, there are times when you're going to take the reins, and there are times when you're not. And you're going to let things just go the way they go. And that could be an option here with the betrayal. As you take stock, you may just say, well, okay, I'm just going to let this be. I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to see what's going to happen. And I'm not going to, I may or may not confront them. Whether you do or you don't, even if you do, you can still not end things, or if that's an option, you may choose not to do that. You may choose just to say, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but this is really awful and you've really hurt me and I got to step back now. And that could be one aspect here of the Chariot. What you see here, let's take a look at the card. You see the king in his little covered chariot area here, but he's not holding on to any reins, is he? His little lions, his little sphinxes, if you will, representing a little bit of a polarity there, aren't they? Light and dark. There's a suggestion of balance there with the dreidel. There's also a suggestion of healing here with the winged sun, or the winged disc, if you will. Uh, but there's a level of balance there that's brought by the chariot where again, you see it also with the two wheels, and you see the two towers here. There's suggestion of balance here, and balancing when to take control and take the reins basically and assert yourself, and when to just step back and say, you know what, I'm just gonna watch, I'm gonna see what happens here. And so there doesn't have to be a decision made, in other words, any more than that. You might have to, but if you don't, that's still part of that decision of when to take the reins, when to assert yourself, and when to just sit there and watch and observe and see what happens. It could be that in doing so, if it's a friendship issue, the friends could come to their senses and say, you know what, we're sorry. This was ridiculous what we did. And we're very, very sorry. And we don't want to see an end to our friendship. And so you have a chance at that point to rebuild things. If that's what you want to do, you may decide, yeah, I don't know. And you don't want to do that. But again, it's taking that moment to let things settle with the Seven of Pentacles and also the seventh card of the major arcana, the Chariot. And here with the major arcana, those are really soul archetype cards, and so it's indicative of the fact that you have to look at things from a soul perspective. Because when you do that, you pull the ego and the emotion out of it, and you just look at it all objectively and just say, oh, that's interesting. These things happened. And you take the whole emotion out of it, because emotion can drive ego, and you don't want to do that. You can recognize that people make mistakes, in other words, and that you can forgive them for that if that's what you choose to do. Or even if you choose to forgive them, but you say, you know what, I forgive you, but I think I'm going to go another way. And like if this was a work situation, things could get out of hand at work. I mean, they do, right? And people do things behind other people's backs and try to undermine someone. And so maybe if you sit and you wait, maybe the boss will understand that's what happened and say, you know what, I don't want people like that working for me. And away they go, see? But you're still there. And so in a sense, then the boss supported you, and this the higher ideal that we're not going to have any nonsense going on here. We're going to work together in a collaborative way and not in a way that undermines people. You see? So if you don't react quickly and make decisions based on that reaction, then who knows what can happen. And so I think that whatever's happening betrayal wise, it's best to take stock. I think that's what the reading is saying. With Sawillo, to have higher self come in and say, let's just take a look at this from just a dispassionate way and not allow emotion or anything else to come in, and just observe what's going on and let people be responsible for what they've done, right? And I think that's what you see here. I think when you look at the two sphinxes below here, it's some type of acknowledgement that there is a dark and a light side to self, and they have to come to rest at some point, and people have to make a decision. Who are they going to be? And I'm talking at this point the betrayers on the represented by these two swords. They have to make some decisions too. It's not just the person who is betrayed. Are they going to be sorry? Are they going to have contrition? Are they going to want to make amends? In other words, they did this and then maybe they were horrified themselves about their own behavior. I mean, we don't know, right? And so they need a chance to come back and be sorry and to ask for forgiveness and hopefully to receive that forgiveness. But again, it doesn't mean that you have to hang out with them anymore, right? It just means that the situation has been acknowledged and everybody has a chance to grow from that, right? So that would be an example of a higher self perspective, sort of driving how you see things and the choices that you make. But again, it sometimes, things are irretrievably broken, right? And it just sort of is what it is. But it doesn't mean that you can't part, civilly in a sense, in some way. And I think that that's what the Chariot is really suggesting here. It's not telling you what to think or how to feel or what to do or the decision you make. It's just saying let things come to a rest and settle out before deciding whether or not you need to, make a decision that impacts things really significantly. You may have no choice in it, right? But at least if you do it after seeing things from a higher perspective and seeing the whole picture, then I think it gives you the information that you need to make the best decision then for yourself. Um, so I guess it just means you stay out of, with this, every time I see a 7, it's like, let's stay out of the reactive ego, let everything settle out, let the scales come to their balance, and then look at the situation and in a dispassionate way to where you can see all the factors involved and make the best decision for yourself at that point, instead of in the heat of the moment, I guess. So if that applies today to you, if you discover or you're aware of something happening, that's a betrayal of sorts, again, take stock of the reality of it, and then let things come to rest before making a decision about it. And when you do so, try to do it in a way, because the Laetitia of all of this is you have a right to your own level of joy in your life. You have a right to be happy. You have a right to experience things in a way that are positive and joyful and loving and all of that. You don't need the nonsense, in other words, in your life. But from the nonsense, we can also learn things. So it's going to be there in life, and how you handle it matters in terms of your own happiness. The other people can figure that out on their own. So anyway, interesting way to end the week. I can't remember though if we saw the 3 of Swords on Monday or if we saw it last week, but I know that we saw it recently. And I started writing these things down, and then I can't find the paper I wrote it down on, so I just stopped, which is always what happens. So, but if it was the last time or the time before, then this is something that's been ongoing for people. And and at some point you just have to figure this thing out and decide what's best for you in a way that's not a knee-jerk reaction to the whole thing. Sometimes things get out of control for people and they don't really know how they got to where they were, and they cause a lot of trouble for other people. And they're like, geez, who, me? Well, yeah, you did that, and that might be the conversation you have to have. But if you can see above it all, it may not be something that ends the friendship, for example. So it might just be, well, geez, and everyone's sorry, and you can move on, and together, maybe, hopefully. But if not, then it is what it is, right? So I guess that's it. That was an easy one, really. No court cards talking to one another. I hate court cards. I don't hate them, but I don't like the kings. Inevitably, that's what I get, are kings. If it's all queens, that's fine. But kings are funny. I don't trust them. Anyway, thanks for watching. And look for the stuff to come out on the blog on Saturday, my weekly stuff. I'm doing a tarot card of the week. I switched from herb of the week to herb of the month. I decided to do that. And that's taken from my latest book, Herbal Magica, which contains not only the medicinal properties of the herbs, but also the magical properties as well. So if you are of that persuasion, you might find that helpful. There's a link to it in the Show More section of the video. So below the video, you can click on Show More. Also, there's the link to the blog there. If you forget, it's Stepping Aside is the name of the blog. I'mSteppingAside.com is the web address. And again, if you forget, just click on Show More and scroll down, you'll see it. plus where I am on social media. That's also there too. So you can, I'm generally just over on Twitter though. So you can follow me over there. I usually follow back if I see it. Sometimes I don't see them. It's like I'll go through and it's like, God, how did I miss all this? But I do. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming by. And I'd love you to click subscribe if you haven't. And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.